What's going on, everybody? Wow Time here with another World of Warcraft video. In this video, I want to talk to you about the best way to run old world dungeons. Because when you're doing this, you want to be max efficiency. You don't want to waste your time. You want to do it the best that you can to get the most out of it. So I'm going to make sure I give you the tips, the add-ons, and everything that I do to run these old world dungeons so that you can make sure that you're not doing it the wrong way. But first, I want to thank everybody that is a subscriber to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to the channel and you like World of Warcraft content, mainly gold making, some Mythic Plus, and anything else the game has to offer, please consider subscribing. Like the video, leave a comment down below. The link for the Discord is also in the description of this video. Feel free to join that to keep the conversation going outside of game time. And remember, it takes a lot of effort and time for content creators to make content for you, the viewer, to enjoy. If you would like to reciprocate that by showing some financial support, you can do that by giving a super thanks down below. Okay, let's jump right into it then. For one, why are you wanting to run old world dungeons? Well, maybe you heard a content creator or a friend or someone say, hey, this is a good way to get Transmog, this is a good way to get raw gold, etc., etc. Whatever the reason is, we want to make sure that we're doing it the best way possible in the most efficient way. So I'm going to share with you how to do that. We're going to talk about add-ons, buffs, some extra tips that I have, some abilities that are going to be helpful, and basic dungeon knowledge. So let's get started. The first thing that you want to make sure that you do is have your dungeon difficulty set the right way. So to do that, you're going to right click on your portrait, you're going to go to dungeon difficulty, and then you can select normal, heroic, or mythic. You can run 10 dungeons in 1 hour before it gives you a lockout, and then you have to wait to do it again. Normal allows you to kill everything in the dungeon, bosses and all, come out, reset it, and run it again. Heroic can be ran 10 times in an hour, but the catch is you cannot kill a boss. Mythic, as soon as you kill a boss, you have to wait a week. If you do happen to kill a boss in Heroic, it does have a daily lockout, so you will have to wait till the next day for that to unlock. Most of the dungeons, though, normal is just fine for the loot table. Before you go into the dungeon, you want to make sure that you have a way to get out and get restarted. Now, there are some specific class things that can do this. For example, Druid has Dreamwalk. At the end of the dungeon, you can Dreamwalk. It takes you back to the Grove, and then you Dreamwalk again, and it's going to teleport you back to the front of the entrance to the dungeon, so then you can just reset and go back in. There is no hard cooldown on this outside of the 1 minute. Now, Deathgate on a DK can do that as well. The monks teleport back to the little home base there can do that as well. Now, if you don't have one of these classes, it's not a huge deal, because what you can do is you can go down here to the group finder, go to pre-made groups, go to custom, start your own group, name it whatever you want, and list it. Okay, I just put FF in mine. You can put whatever you want in there. Odds are nobody's going to join it. They either one, don't know what it is, or two, they know what you're doing. And you can leave it up here. That lets it know that you're in a group. You go in, you run your dungeon, and at the end of it, you right click your portrait, and then you go to leave party. You have to wait a little while, and then it will say you're in an instance but not in a party. You're going to be teleported out, and then it will teleport you out. This is probably the longest way to do it, because you do have to wait like a solid minute for it to pop you out, but it's definitely doable if you don't have a class with one of the abilities that we just talked about. So now that you understand how to get into the dungeon on the right difficulty, how to get back out so that you can run it multiple times in an hour, let's talk about some things that you're going to need to make this as good as possible. You're going to need some add-ons. You're going to need one Trade Skill Master. Now, Trade Skill Master is an add-on that tells you the value of items as well as the regional sell rate and some other data. For example, if I hover this item right here, it's going to tell us a lot of information, and this is all customizable. but it's going to tell you the minimum buyout on the auction house, and it's going to tell you the market value, the historical price, and then the same thing for the region values. All right, that's the main thing that you're going to want to look at as far as TSM goes. And then it also tells you the regional average daily sold and a sale rate. So that's what you're really going to use to determine if the item you have is good or not, how much it goes for on the auction house, and then also the sale rate. You're also going to need TSM to work this next add-on that we're talking about, and it's called Loot Appraiser. Now, Loot Appraiser has several options here, but basically it keeps track of the items that you have looted, the amount of time that you have been in the dungeon, the currency that you've looted, and then you can set it up to, ding you at specific thresholds and stuff like that. And then down here, this is going to tell you what your prices are based on. You need TSM for this. So this is TSM market value. So anything that I get, it's going to base its value off of the TSM market value. You can change this in the settings to minimum buyout or whatever you'd like from a TSM input. There's also an option to reset the instance, and it tells you how many you have until your lockout, so it keeps track of that for you as well and makes it super easy once you leave the instance to click it, to reset it, and to go back in. The next add-on that you're going to want to install is called Faster Loot. Now, this is going to be important because it loots the items very, very quickly. All right. And with this, you also want to make sure that you have your auto loot function turned on in game. So how you can do that, you can hit escape and go to options, and they have this really awesome function now that you can search for what you're looking for. So you want to search for auto, and you'll see here auto loot. That means when you click on the body that it's going to immediately be looted to your inventory, and you just check that on. The last add-on that I want to mention is one called Monkey Speed, and if you look up here, that's what this is. It's going to tell you what your overall speed is. And this isn't something that you really need, but it helps me track when I'm slowing down, when I need to pop a like a speed ability or something like that. And it really help you with mastering the dungeon you're in and getting some efficiency out of it. Also determining how good of a piece of gear something is if you have a speed set or something like that. So that wraps it up for the add-ons. I'm going to list those down in the description below as well. Most of these can be downloaded from the CurseForge app. TSM, you will have to go to their website to get the desktop application. All right, next we want to talk about some buffs and some extra things that you can do. You always want to make sure that you have a food speed buff ready. So like this, the fried bonefish. Every time you kill an enemy, this is going to give you a boost of speed, and you're going to be killing enemies fast, and this is going to really get you going through the dungeon. This is critical, okay? There is Bear Tartar that works with lower level characters, but the fried bonefish actually gives you more. So this is what you want to be using. And you're also going to want to get some Dark Moon Firewater. Okay, if you're in some old dungeons and you don't have any enchants for gathering, because they didn't have them in those expansions, you would definitely want to make sure you have this, because when you're running these old dungeons, you want to make sure that you're getting the most value out of it. So for example, we're going to go through Iron Docks. We want to be skinning the beasts at the end, and we want to be doing that as quickly as possible. Or if you're running something like Mana Tomes, where there's a chance for some adamantite and even corium ore, you want to make sure that you are getting those, as well as any kind of herbs that are in those dungeons as well. If you're serious about farming transmog and clearing old content, you also want to start looking at developing some sort of speed set. And you can see here that I actually have a speed set equipped. This isn't by any means a guide to how to make a speed set, but we can look at the difference between what I have when it is equipped and what I have when it isn't. If you look up here in the top middle of the screen, you can see my monkey speed add-on. Says right now I'm at 150% movement speed. Okay, so I've got the buff for my feline swiftness, which adds movement speed anyway, but on top of that, we're going to get some items and enchants that increase speed also. 150, we switch to my farming set, we equip it, goes up to 176. So you can get these speed sets. You can look up speed set for Druid on the internet, and there's a lot of good guides out there. They're going to be different now, though, going into Dragonflight out of Shadowlands, because they really nerfed the Oath of the Elder Druid, which is a bummer. So you're not able to use that in old world content anymore, which makes it harder to get a speed set. But you can do things like search the auction house for low level items that have a speed tertiary set. Like, for example, this here, this has 51 speed on it, and that gives me an overall like 5% increase in my overall speed, and that's pretty awesome. Got some low level boots here with some minor speed enchants, and then also we've got some things with the Heart of Azeroth here that give you speed based on your highest stat. And then you can get other things with like speed gems right here in this ring. You got a speed gem in this ring, etc., etc. Right? And then I actually got this trinket, which is pretty cool, the Dream Grove Blossom, to where if I'm running Legion stuff, it gives me a 20% speed, but only in the Broken Isles and Argus, which is pretty cool. It doesn't do anything in the old world, but it's nice just to put on there. And the stats besides speed really don't matter a whole bunch because you're running old world content. For example, this is an intellect staff and I need agility, but it still gets the job done because I'm after the speed. Outside of the auction house, you can also farm specific speed set items. But one thing you can do that everybody can do is come to your talents. And one cool thing that Blizzard did here was they made it to where you can search your talents. Okay, so say for example, you have your speed buff, like Tiger Dash. So we're going to look up Tiger Dash, and then this is going to show us everything here that has Tiger Dash in it. You could also do a more general search, like speed, and then these little magnifying glasses, they're going to tell you everything that has to do with speed. So Stampeding Roar, this is going to give you speed here. Right here, Feline Swiftness increases your movement speed by 15%. And then Tireless Pursuit, for 3 seconds after leaving cat form or travel form, you retain up to 40% movement speed. So by looking at this, these are all things that you are going to need to start building your fastest build possible. One tip as a bonus tip, if you are running Iron Docks specifically, then you're going to need to make sure in your garrison you have a level 2 trading post, because that is going to allow you to get the auction house parts to drop, which are going to be several thousand gold a piece on the auction house. Okay, so now we've got everything we need. We're ready to go. Let's go into the actual dungeon, and I'll show you how these add-ons work, and hopefully we learn something along the way. You'll want to get your bars set up in a way that makes sense to you, because when you're running old dungeons, you really don't need all of the abilities that you would need for current content, because the things are going to die really easily. So for me, on my Druid, I just have my Moonfire here. This is a macro, but it doesn't affect anything because the targets aren't here, so it's going to just do whatever I tab target. And then I have my AoE, which is a swipe, and then I have my speed here, and I've got my speed up here. And then I actually have a soothe, because soothe will actually pull mobs. So will a taunt or something like that. So you want to make sure whatever your class is, that you're getting it set up just about as easy as you can. So let's get our food buff going from the fried bonefish, and we'll activate our Dark Moon Fire Water as well. Now let's kill this first pack. Now watch right here up at the top middle screen where it says 176. Watch what happens when I kill a pack. See that? 176 to 191. So you can see how the speed buff actually picks up your speed a lot. The speed buff from the food is actually giving me a really good increase in speed. Okay, now you see how fast I'm looting right here? That's the faster loot add-on. Let's kill something without the faster loot add-on. Here we go. We kill him. Now watch. Even with auto loot on, see how it takes a little bit longer? And you think that that's not going to make a big difference, But when you're trying to get these done as quick as you can to be as efficient as possible, that's actually going to make a huge difference. So let's turn it back on. And we can watch how quick we loot now. The point of this is you kill, you loot real quick. I got the loot, right? Kill, hit the button, you loot, and you move on. See how much quicker that is? Now, so you don't miss anything and you know what you're picking up, you're going to want to make sure that you have your loot appraiser started. /LA brings it up, and here's all your information over here. Okay, so we're just going to kill these guys and we loot. And you see how this popped up here and it dinged? That's because I got an item that I had set as a threshold. I think I have my threshold set at like 200 gold or something like that. So anything over that threshold is going to ding. All right, so I got one of those and it went right into my bags and it let me know that I got it. And here it is here, and you can see right now the minimum buyout is $8.99, but the market value is $1,300 with a 0.0 region sale rate. So that's pretty good. This is a good part to get. And I knew that I got it because it dinged in Loot Appraiser. So let's run this and keep your eye on the speed up here at the top. Okay, so 191 right now. You're going to have to make the decision based on your class if it's faster for you to mount up. Some of the dungeons you can actually mount up in and gather everything up, and that's going to give you, 200 movement speed, or if it's faster for you to use your movement buff speeds and just power through the dungeon. For me, it's actually faster for me to use my movement buff speeds because I can do Tiger's Lust or Dash, and you can see I actually get up to like 300 something speed as I do it. All right, so you're just killing and killing and killing and killing. And I found that it's faster actually to kill and loot as I go, because with the speed buffs and everything, it actually works out better that way. The goal is, though, is to kill as much stuff as you can in as little amount as possible. And you're going to have to get used to running the dungeons that you want to farm, and you'll get better at them. You'll learn the pools, you'll learn, where to pull the mobs, you'll learn what to loot, you'll learn what you can skip, you'll learn all the different shortcuts and everything like that. So it actually becomes somewhat of like a game in itself, seeing how fast you can clear something. You can time yourself, right? And say, okay, I'm going to clear this in X amount of time. And it's almost like a challenge. Be aware also of different kind of movement increasing things, like for example, Demon Hunters and the new Drakthir race. When they are doing their glide, they actually go a little bit faster. So you can run and glide, and then you get that extra little speed buff going on, and it makes it quicker over the long haul of the actual run. So let's just go all the way to the end of the dungeon here. So now that the dungeon's over, we want to go ahead and port out. And in this case, we're going to use Dreamwalk because we are a druid. Remember, Deathgate, the monk, I think it's called Zen Pilgrimage, also works. Or if you are in a group that you created, you could leave the group. This takes us back to the Dream Grove here as a druid. And that's where you can go through your inventory, see what you got, take account for anything that you picked up. And if you have a portable mailbox, then you can send that to your bank alt, or if you have a Brutosaur, you could go ahead and list it, or whatever you want to do to get your bags straightened away before you go the next time. And as a bonus, during the making of this video, I actually did pick up the auction memory socket and the auction add-ons installer, which sells for 4K and like 1,300 gold respectively. And this was the tip about having the Trading Post 2 in your garrison so that these can drop, and that's going to really up your gold in the Iron Docks specifically. Okay, so you want to go back in and run it so you can get your 10 in. You're just going to come over here to your Loot Appraiser, and you're going to hit reset, and then it resets the instance for you, and it tells you how many more that you have left to do and how much longer you have left to do it. If for some reason you are against Loot Appraiser, you right click your portrait and you go down to reset all instances, and that's how you reset it. Then all you have to do is port back out, and it will take you right back to the front of the instance, and you're ready to go in there and run it again. Now, if you're using the group finder method, it's going to kick you right back out to the instance anyway, and you won't have to port anywhere because you'll already be right here. I hope those tips helped you. I hope that you learned something, and this will help you in your gold making journey, running old dungeons for Transmog, for raw gold, or whatever it is that you are running them for. Those are the add-ons that I recommend. Those are just some of the tips and tricks that have helped me along the way to successfully run some of the dungeons. And I'm glad that I was able to share them with all of you. So again, thank you for watching the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. Remember, the add-ons are listed down below. Leave a comment if you have any questions. The comments are a great place to get that conversation going, or in Discord, there's a lot of helpful people there. Don't forget about super thanks if you want to support the channel monetarily. Have fun playing the game. Remember, it is just a game. Have fun playing it. And until next time, I will catch you all later.